Okay, so just sort of letting ourselves settle for a minute. You can use the back of the chair for as much support as you want. So there's no need to be sort of sitting up away from it unless you want to. You might do a little bit of both today. But if you want to, scooch right back up the backrest of your chair so that your spine is supported, at least for this beginning, settling in stage. And you can close your eyes if you want to, or you can just maybe take them away from the screen. That is helpful just while we settle in. And just try not to change your breath. I know it's hard. As soon as we notice it, we sort of want to go in and make it different, but just try and take a few breaths, sort of quiet little settling in time. Sarah. Good morning, my love. We're literally just sort of getting comfy, so get comfy with us and join us.
Yes, I will be hot with you. I'm going to have to put my beloved aircon on.
Your aircon.
Otherwise I die.
Yeah.
I've got like a 50-year-old fan on, which is very distracting, but my only source of air.
Yeah, well, whatever, you've got to take what you've got, haven't you? So just sort of noticing our breath. We're going to just do a little breathing exercise to start with, where I'm going to call it 3-part breathing. We're going to just start by breathing and just focusing on any movement that we can feel when we breathe in, sort of around the chest and maybe around the collarbone. Then we're going to just focus on any movement or sort of sensation of breath coming into sort of around the ribs, so a little bit lower. And then we're going to try and see if we can sort of find a bit of awareness of our breath moving down into our belly. Now, when I say it's coming into our belly, I'm sort of acknowledging that we physically can't breathe into our belly, but it's our diaphragm that's moving down and potentially making our belly sort of expand. And we sometimes might feel that in the tummy. But we're going to sort of just have a little focus on those 3 areas separately. And then we're just going to try and breathe sort of with all of those areas in mind with each breath. So I'll guide you, and as with any breath kind of thing that we do, if it doesn't feel good for you, if it's feeling like it's sort of heightening any already existing sensations of maybe tenseness or anxiety, you're just going to come back to a breath that feels much less controlled and more sort of familiar for you, and that's fine at any time. You might want to put your hand on your chest and on your ribs and on your belly as we move through these parts, or you might not. So just for these first couple of breaths, let's just see if when we breathe in, we can just focus on this sort of upper chest area of the body. So there might be a little bit of movement, there might not be. You might imagine the breath sort of filling up the sides of the chest. Sometimes there is even a sort of a movement of our shoulders when we're breathing in. The shoulders might just feel like they're really subtly rising and falling with your breath. Just things to be aware of. And then just, whenever you're ready, just drop it down a bit and just see if you can get that breath a bit lower into the ribs. And again, if the hands on the ribs help you, then just popping them down, and if not, hands just rest. And if there is a bit of movement there, I wonder if it's the ribs moving forward that you can feel, or is it the ribs, are they moving more outwards? I really struggle with getting my ribs to move as I breathe, so I have to concentrate so hard, and often there's like hardly any movement. It's a real place that I struggle.
Yeah, it's really hard to get them to move.
It really, really is. And that's really like it's natural for us, I think. Although they're designed to move when we breathe in. There's all those sort of intercostal muscles between the ribs that allow for that expansion and then that retraction. But we're just not as practiced, I don't think, as doing it. So it will probably feel a little harder. And then just see how it feels to drop your breath or the focus of your breath more towards your belly. I find the belly easier than the ribs to feel breath. We're all different though. So as we take that breath in, it's the diaphragm that's moving down to make more space for that air, and it's that that's making it almost feel like there's a sort of growing or blowing up of a balloon sort of sensation of the tummy. And as the diaphragm moves back up, as we exhale, the belly sort of contracts a little bit. And then just have a little pause. So just kind of have a little jiggle, have a little rest. And then just the next time, and we'll only do like a few breaths, and we can come back to it at the end if you want to in our relaxation, if it's something that feels nice. We're now just going to try and sort of breathe into all those three parts sort of consciously together, or not together, but with each breath. So when we breathe in, I'm going to sort of guide you and say, right, breathe in down towards your belly, and then keep filling up around your ribs. And then sort of that last little bit of breath in is where we're going to maybe just imagine that breath filling up around the chest. And then like a top down when we breathe out. So when we breathe out, we're breathing out, letting go from the chest, letting go from the ribs, and then letting go from the belly. And just like, even if there's not the physical sensation of movement, maybe just the visual of the breath coming in and filling up from belly, chest, belly, ribs, and chest. And then as it empties out, that sort of top down, just visualizing it can be really helpful and can still kind of increase that sense of inward sort of attention that we're trying to cultivate. So don't worry if you're like, well, my chest isn't moving, my ribs aren't moving very much, or my belly isn't moving very much. You're still moving your attention up here to those different parts of your body, which is part of our intention. So we'll just do maybe 5 breaths at the most, and then we'll start having a bit of a wiggle around. So just letting your breath sort of have a couple of normal breaths before we start. And then whenever you're ready to take that first breath sort of in with us, you're going to breathe in and start to take it down towards your belly. Still breathing in, you're going to let the ribs take it, and then that last bit of inhale, focusing on the chest. When you're ready to breathe out, imagining that breath leaving the chest, rib cage moving back, and then the belly where it's expanded, just sort of moving back towards the spine. You're breathing in belly, ribs, and chest. Breathing out from the chest, the ribs, and belly. Just maybe 2 more, maybe 3. We might have let that go sooner if it's just not landing very well today. It's all good. And then when you do let that go, if you've got the hands on the torso, just relax them down. Let your breath sort of find its way towards whatever a sort of normal is for you at the minute. Cool. And then we're just going to start to have a little move. So today, just, yeah, it's hot, it's stuffy. Look after yourself, stop for plenty of drinking. And let's have, see, I put my, always like just put things around my room. Got my notes today and I've just put them so far up out the way I couldn't see them. So we're going to start, I think this was last week that we started this movement with our little sort of foot peak and our cat-cows. We sort of added in a bit more of the rest of the body to our cat-cow movement, that rather than just the spine. So we, with the feet are flat on the ground, sort of hip distance apart underneath the knees. We peeled the toes away from the floor. And as we did that, our hands slid towards our hip creases, sort of up our thighs. And we just found this gentle extension through the spine. So the chest is just lifted. My chin perhaps is lifted, and my shoulders, we're not forcing them back behind us, but with that lift of the chest, the shoulders naturally just move back a little bit. And then as we start to plant the feet back down on the ground, kind of doing it sort of slowly if you can, the hands are going to slide towards the knees, and you're going to just start to gently allow your spine to round in the opposite direction. Again, the chin might lower, but we're not taking it all the way towards the chest. So the feet peel up, the heels stay on the ground, but we peel up the toes. We start to slide the hands sort of up the thighs. And that's it. If your hands want to do something else, that's cool. You start to just bring that space to the front of the body. So our pelvis is in that position, tilting back behind us slightly. And then as we start to lower the feet, the pelvis is going to start to neutralize, and then it might tuck underneath us just a little bit as the toes land and we round through the spine.
I like that variation.
It's nice, huh? Yeah, we said it, we liked it. I think it was Sophie last week who said it was a really nice one. It does feel nice.
It does.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's much nicer than doing it on all fours on the floor, because whenever I do that, I extend my back way too much.
Yeah, it's much easier to overextend when you're on that floor, because your spine is starting neutral, and so if your spine is starting horizontal, extend, and we drop the belly, you think you've got your body's natural inclination and ability to overextend, which we know we've got for a lot of us, but you've also got gravity working on the spine as well. So it sort of it makes it harder to contain the movement. Yeah, you've just got that little bit more control from being in a different position and from gravity not in the same way as if we were in that box position. I'm glad it feels nice. And I think last week, might be making this up, I slept 7 times since last week, but I think last week we had a little sort of variation that we can add on. We brought in a little cobra, I think, or some of us did. So the same thing, we lift the feet, we lift the chest, and then if you want to, we brought the hands just either side of our chest, and that was further forward for some of us, and that was closer to the chest for some of us, and the elbows just sort of pointed in the direction behind us. That's kind of like our seated cobra movement, which again, you often see the cobra movement on the floor where people are pushing into the floor, and again, really easy to push your spine up, overextend your spine because you've got the floor to sort of give you a bit more muscle into that shape. And then as you relax again, just feet down and just sort of let the spine curl. With that cobra, if you're going to bring it in and just explore it, just be mindful that the hands aren't coming further back from your chest. They're always going to be a bit in front, but they're not trying to pull right behind you, because again, that's where we're probably going to just give the shoulders more opportunity to swing back to a bit further than we'd like. So it's up to you. You can add in that cobra, or you can keep it as it was. Or it might just be that as you're doing the next couple of rounds, we'll have a pause then and we'll do something different. But there's just other little things that come in, that like little wiggles or just kind of funny little movements that are your own that feel really nice. So just add them in as and when you want to. Beautiful. And then the next time you bring yourself sort of up through that more neutral sitting position, just let's have a little pause And maybe you want to sit back and rest the spine, feel it be supported. Maybe it's just a sort of little shift onto the right and left side of your hips, having that nice little wriggle. Maybe it's a little kind of gentle shrug of the shoulders and you let them release back down. Nice. So we're just sort of building on that idea of we've got a familiar movement like our cat and our cow, and that can be sort of, we can often just isolate that. The rest of the body often stays still and we move through the spine. So just building on that idea of one sort of core movement, but then it sort of expanding to the whole of the body. So if you know, in that movement, our feet all the way to our head, there was involvement. So there was this awareness of the whole of the body, even though the movement really was predominantly here, the whole body was involved. So sort of moving away from the isolation of different bits of us and just sort of working with us as a whole today, if and when it's possible. Cool. So we're just going to let the palms, let's take our right palm, and if it's comfortable, turn it up and just rest the palm on the arm of your chair or on the lap. If that doesn't feel comfortable for the shoulder, because we've got it moving outwards, you can keep the palm down, but we might be here. And then we're just going to bring our other hand and gently place it on top of our right shoulder. Now, Sophie, you said this is the bit that is super tender for you this morning, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe, but it's the other side. Yeah, it was that side, wasn't it?
You're right, yeah.
So just for a second, as it feels, as and when or how it feels okay, you're just going to slightly give that top of the shoulder, if it feels okay. If you're in active pain and it's too much, then we're going to avoid. But you might just start to just gently give it a little bit of a like really soft massage. And I'm not talking like getting in there with the fingertips and giving it a big old squeeze. It may just be something as sort of simple as just sort of bringing warmth to that area. So just kind of rub in that shoulder. Or sometimes almost like a sort of a sweep down, just a sort of like you're sort of brushing water off. And if your shoulders are feeling good and you want to have a little bit more of a sort of soft squeezy massage, you can. And just trying to breathe sort of deeply and slowly as you just try to let that right shoulder relax. You might almost imagine that I've come and sort of popped a really heavy weight in the crease of your elbow. So it's sort of encouraging that down, that shoulder to sort of relax down. And then if you want to, you can stay with this, just giving that shoulder a little bit of love. And if you've got that sort of sense of real tension or tenderness in the shoulder, you might avoid this or at least go really, really carefully. Just going to sort of let your head do a little bit of moving. And I might maybe suggest almost just sort of taking it left, slightly forward, slightly right, and maybe slightly lifting the chin. And each direction that you move the head will feel different in that shoulder. There might be one position or a certain movement that feels really lovely. You might do a bit more of that. Or you might just be like, actually, my moving of the head is making my right shoulder hold more tension or feel more tender or feel more vulnerable. And in which case, you might just stay, bringing some warmth, bringing a nice kind of gentle hands-on to that shoulder. Good. We'll switch in a minute and do the other side. In between, just notice if your body is drawn to doing a little specific wriggle or reset itself. Often it knows what to do, and sometimes we'll stifle it because we don't want to be the ones that are kind of doing the wiggling or doing the something different. But do the wiggling, do the something different. And then we'll take it to the other side. So if you can, palm is going to face up. If it doesn't feel good, palms down. I'm going to draw that right hand across to the left shoulder. And before we do anything else, any movement with the neck, just sort of see what feels nice there. Is it just a gentle massage of that top of the shoulder? Is it kind of just, I know we're really warm already, but maybe just sort of bring in some extra warmth to that shoulder. Or some people like a little tap even. Or maybe that sort of nice sweep where you just apply a tiny bit of pressure with your hand and just sort of sweep down the shoulder, down the upper arm. Nice. And then the add-on, if you want it, you take it or leave it, is just maybe taking your head and your neck and taking it sort of tilting to the right, dropping the chin slightly down, dropping the left ear slightly left, and maybe just slightly dropping the head back and lifting the chin a little amount. And then you can just sort of figure out what feels good, what feels right today. And that reminder that the movement itself could be really small, especially when we're working with areas that are physically smaller, the muscles are smaller, like the neck. The subtle movements, often they'll still feel a lot. So you don't feel like you've got to make things really big for it to have an impact. Lovely, everyone, really nice. And then just we'll let that go. Obviously, if it's feeling really nice, you can carry on, don't worry about it. But otherwise, we'll just give it a little rest there. And then again, just kind of maybe let both shoulders move a little bit together. Maybe you just want to take your head sort of more freely around those points, just slow. Maybe some slow nods of the head or shakes of the head, no. Wonderful, really nice. Cool. Okay, how are we doing? You all right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good. So let's just widen the feet maybe a little bit. Just thinking like make a bit of space for your body if you need it. So if you've got more flesh around your thighs or your tummy like I have, just that little bit wider space with your feet or your legs just gives us more space. So you might take a feet a bit wider. We're going to take the hands onto the knees and just check that our toes, if we've opened the hips, that our toes are sort of facing in the same direction as our knees are. They're not doing some sort of funky little, really weird little dance for disco. So just everything's sort of pointed in the right direction or the same direction. And with the hands on the knees or the thighs, depending on where sort of you comfortably hands reach, we're just going to gently let your weight shift a little bit forward. So from your neutral position, where your pelvis is in neutral and you can sort of feel hopefully your weight more evenly through your bum, we're just going to gently shift forward. So it's a little hinge from the hips and you might feel that your weight shifts forward. Obviously be mindful that you're not going to send yourself all the way forward and feel unstable. You could always move your feet away from your chair a little bit as you move forward as well. We're just going to take the chest, which at the moment is facing right directly towards me. If you imagine there's a laser beam coming out the center of your chest, we're going to take your chest or take that laser beam in the direction that your left knee and your left toes are facing. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. And then we're just going to move really slowly through the middle and take that laser beam in the direction of your right knee, your right toes. Good. We're going to do a few like that, just feeling it out nice and slow. If you want to breathe with your movement here, which some of us might like doing, some of us might not, I'd probably suggest breathing in as you come through your neutral position, and then breathing out as you direct that laser beam off at an angle. Really nice. So we've got like this kind of gentle twist in the spine.
This is nice as well.
Nice, huh?
Yeah, it's really nice.
And it's quite nice because you've got the support from you've got your hands on your legs, so you feel you've got a bit of support. Because if you're doing this, you know, without that, it would feel like your spine was doing a lot more work. It's a bit more effort. But you can also use your hands for like a little bit of sort of leverage to help you shift from left side to right. So I can feel that when I move to the right, I push a little bit through more of my left hand. It sort of helps me transition, which is quite nice, especially when it's like if we're at a low energy day, or if we've got, you know, like insane heat that's making things feel more difficult. Just give ourselves a hand. Good. And then next time you come back to the middle, just hold it there. And with the hands on the knees or the thighs, just come back to that little tiny, not a huge movement, cow pose, where you're going to lift the chest and your pelvis is going to tilt back slightly. And maybe you look a little bit up, and I'm not saying like up towards the ceiling. It might just be that you look just up above your screen. Good. And then just come back to neutral spine. Have a little wriggle. And do that one more time. So nice breath in. You're going to lift the chest. Pelvis moves back. Chin maybe lifts just a little bit. Gorgeous, everyone. And then as you breathe out, just letting your spine come back to neutral. And then just walking the hands maybe back up the legs. So you've started moving back to that sitting upright position. Pelvis neutral. Feet can stay wide, or you can usher them a little bit closer back together. And just bringing our right hand to our hip or our waist. Our left hand can stay on the lap. It could start to reach over with us. We're going to take a little side bend over towards the right. That might just look a little bit like this, where you keep both hands on the waist and you tilt like you're tipping water out of your right ear. That left hand might just want to be relaxed. Or for some of us, that left arm might sort of come with us a little bit, like you're reaching up and over towards a shelf. And instead of holding it, we're just sort of going to move in and out gently, just a couple of times. So the side of the body just lengthens gradually and then gradually comes back to neutral. Another nice option, just if the visual helps, is like you're trying to reach a cup from the floor beside you. Nice. And switch that side whenever you're ready. Just again, not holding it, but just moving kind of in, out a couple of times. Nice and slow, so you can kind of just be in control. Feel how your body's responding on that side. Gorgeous. And maybe there's one more in there, who knows? I like side stretching. Always just side stretch. I love it. And just coming back. Maybe you have that little shift of the hips. Maybe it's just you sort of move your flesh of your bottom just sort of out to the side. Maybe you've got a cushion that you just want to sit on top of or behind your back. just for a little bit more softness and support. You want to eyes, you can. If you want to shift and you want to lie down for like 5 minutes or so, you can. Just going to guide you with my voice through some different parts of your body. So like a guided body scan. There's nothing that you've got to do when I shout out the body parts. It's just that you're moving your awareness around to the different points that I'll name. And it might be that you sort of get to one place and you're like, oh gosh, there's a lot of tension there still, or I'm hot there, or I'm tingly there. And those things, you can notice them. But the idea is that we sort of notice them and then fairly quickly we're moving on. So we're not lingering and we're not sort of trying to figure things out. We're just going, oh, the shoulder, yeah, okay, the shoulder, oh, and now the elbow, moving on. Like rotation of consciousness, we call it in yoga. And you're just moving your attention around quite neutrally, in line with where I call. So you can do it with eyes open, you can do it with eyes closed, just making sure that you're comfy, but you can move as much as you need to. You don't feel like you've got to be completely still. And we'll start at our head. So we'll start right at the top of the head. Just sort of take your awareness right to the top of the head. You're just breathing however you need to breathe, however it comes, however it goes. Just dropping your attention down to your face, your forehead, your eyes, the cheeks and the jaw, the mouth, the neck, the right shoulder, the right elbow, the right wrist, and the right hand and fingers. Moving back across, going from the left shoulder to left elbow, to left wrist, to left hand and fingers. Back up, chest, tummy, and then just an awareness of the whole length of your spine. Your right hip, your right thigh, the right lower leg, and the right foot, toes. Move back up to the left hip, the left thigh, your left lower leg, your left foot and toes. Just taking the next quiet couple of breaths with an awareness of the whole body resting. Allowing your thoughts to come and go, and meeting them with some compassion if they're resistant. They hang around. And if you find yourself in that, where the thoughts are really persistent, Don't beat yourself up. You've got a human brain. That's what they do. But that little rotation around the body might be something that you come back to. Just to take back a little bit of control. Saying to your mind, I know you've got this thought. I'm going to really gently guide you around my body. Just away from that thought for a moment. And we'll end as we always do. We're just bringing into mind something that you might feel some gratitude for this morning. As you sit with that sense of gratitude, maybe deepen your breath, just one or two breaths, just a bit more full, a bit deeper. It might be nice to breathe in deeply and then let the breath out through your mouth. And whenever you feel ready, if you've had your eyes closed, you can start to blink them open. Start to just sort of take in the surroundings, take in where you are again. Any little movements, wriggles, if you feel like you need to yawn, don't stifle it, just let it out. Oh, thanks so much, everybody.